Dan Kerr of the Arlington Fire Department, and I'm in charge of the training division. So a firefighter has many tasks that they have to do every day. First thing they do when they get on shift is they take a report from the outgoing crew, see what happened last night, what's going on with the truck, what to expect coming up that day. They go through the truck, they walk around the entire truck, go through all the drawers, make sure all the equipment and the tools are ready for to be used. After that, we usually do check the lights, check the oil. We maintain the apparatus ourselves for the most part. We have mechanics on staff, but we go through every day, make sure the trucks are all squared away, ready to go, ready to operate. After the trucks are squared away, we also maintain the buildings. So we live here for 24 hours a day. There's somebody here, so we mop the floors, clean the kitchens, the bathrooms, the living areas, the apparatus floors. We do all that every day in the morning usually. We also wash the trucks, vacuum the trucks, wash the trucks. Usually around 9 o'clock in the morning training begins. It's either EMS training or fire related training activities take place in the morning, followed by some sort of inspection. We go to the mercantiles in town. We do life safety inspections, make sure the exits aren't blocked, the fire detectors are working properly, everybody has a fire extinguisher. So that's the morning routine for the most part. And obviously respond to any calls that may come in during those hours. Oh, I love my job. I get a chance to work with the community, people of Arlington. What we do every day is we help people in Arlington that need help. Every day they call 911. They're in an emergency. They're having a bad day, and we get to show up and use our skills to try to help them get through their day, through their bad situation. So that's the favorite part of my job is one, working with the community, and two, the great guys that we get to work with day in and day out. It's a real team atmosphere. It's almost like being on a sports team. Like we work together to get through situations and the best outcomes for the people of Arlington. I have been on this job since 2008, so 8 years I've been on the job. Firefighters have many roles. Our biggest one is obviously responding to calls, so we fight fires. We're a fire department, but we're also more of an emergency department in the aspect that we respond to wires down, we respond to gas leaks inside and outside of a house, any water related emergencies. We have a boat, Marine One, which we take into Spy Pond or Mystic Lakes or the Arlington Res if there's somebody in the water that needs help, or when the ice freezes over, somebody falls through the ice and they need help. So we respond to all water emergencies. Like I said, gas calls outside of the house, wires down, and then one of the biggest ones that nowadays is the EMS side, the medical calls that we go on. When you call 911, we send an engine, the ambulance, and we also engine and ambulance, and a police officer shows up to every call. So that's all our medical calls we go on. We can provide CPR and we can transport you to the hospital if you need help. To become a firefighter, you take the civil service test. It's offered every other spring. You pass the test. We have a very long interview process. We select the candidates, and then after that, we send you out to a 10-week program at the Massachusetts Fire Academy, which is located in Stowe. There you learn all the basic things you need to know to be a firefighter. They have what's called a burn building, which they set up small fires in these buildings, and they run you through the roles and how to be a firefighter. After the 10 weeks, you come back to Arlington, and you're on the job for 1 year. We call it a firefighter in probation. And at that time, we teach you the more specific roles that you need to play in the Arlington Fire Department, as well as you need to complete your EMT. We're all trained emergency medical technicians, which we provide BLS care to anybody in town. So the 10-week academy program, and then there's the EMT program you have to pass, and that's how you become a firefighter in Arlington. And then after that, there's more advanced trainings you can go to at the academy, and you can take more tests and become a fire officer and so on. And that's how it works. But yeah, I was born and raised in East Arlington. I've lived here my whole life. I moved to the Heights at this point, but yeah, I was born and raised in Arlington. I didn't think I was going to become a firefighter. I was into sports as a kid. I did pretty well in school, went to college, got a bachelor's degree in business management. And well, like I said, I was into sports as a kid, and I liked the team atmosphere. And then, so when I turned 18, I started taking the civil service tests because I knew that I had friends and I knew people on the fire department, and I knew that it was a team atmosphere, and you get to work with people to solve problems, and that's what I wanted to do. So I kind of fell into it, but I knew I've always wanted to use my hands and be out in the town and helping people. So that's why I became a firefighter. The fire services is becoming more and more science-based. They do a lot more studies on the way that science can impact a fire. So we go through a lot of training as far as how science impacts fires in general, how we can best fight fires. And it seems like every year they come out with new studies and new ways to approach it. A lot of the times now they say they figured out that wind can have a large effect on fires, so they're telling us when we do our ventilation, we need to control our ventilation, because part of a fire is you need oxygen and you need fuel and you need heat for a fire to start. So at certain points in a fire, if we add oxygen by opening a window, opening a door, you can actually feed the fire more, and you can put your guys in a bad spot. So we're learning more and more every year, and they do a lot of studies, and it really is advancing the fire service in a way. It's becoming very more science-based. Even I was just explaining to somebody the other day about the cancer cause of firefighter deaths, firefighter fatalities. Cancer is a major thing, and they're finding out that all the carcinogens in the air from a fire that goes on our gear, and if we don't take care of our gear properly, we actually bring it back to the fire stations, back to the living quarters, and we can spread the carcinogens in the fire stations, and a lot of guys are dying from cancer. So there's a lot of different avenues that science is involved in the fire services. I can say if you want to become a firefighter, definitely it's a great job to pursue. I think it's the best job in the world, and probably the best thing you can do is, go to school, do well in school, learn a lot about science. Science is a major part of it. And then you could, after graduation from high school, say, if you don't go to college, then you can also go and take your EMT, become an EMT, EMT basics are great. That's what we are in this fire department. A lot of the fire departments around us are going to become ALS certified, just a higher degree of education as far as EMT status goes. So definitely get involved in the EMT programs that are out there, and that'll better suit you to get on the job. And then, like I said, science, you can also go to college for like Middlesex Community College offers fire science programs, and you learn about, like I said before, the different ways that science interacts with the fire, and you can get yourself in a good position to get on the job at that point. So definitely pursue your dreams, and it's the best job around. So I encourage everybody to take the test. There's 3 stations in Arlington, but this is our station, Highland Station, where we house Engine 2 and Rescue 1. Engine 2 is right here, Rescue 1's to the side. There's really 3 main trucks on the fire department. There's an engine, a ladder, and a rescue. So this is our engine. We carry 500 gallons of water in the tank behind this right here. We have different hoses of different sizes and different lengths. That's also a science-based thing. How much water you can get through a certain hose, and how many gallons a minute you can get onto a fire. The more gallons a minute on a fire, the faster the fire goes out. So engine trucks have water on them with the hoses. The ladder trucks, which aren't stationed here right now, they have the aerials on top, which can reach up to 100 feet, which are the taller buildings in town. So this is Engine 2. This is our mutual aid piece. We go to calls in Arlington with this, and we go to calls out of town. If there's a fire out of town, a big fire, they'll call us in to help. It's one of the newer pieces in town, 2014, I believe. The driver cab right there, that's where the driver sits. This is where the backstep firefighter sits. We carry a lot of medical supplies on our fire engines in case we go to a 911 call, like I told you before. We send a fire engine because there's 3 different stations in town, and they can get to, this station can get to the houses in this area faster than somebody else could. So we send Engine 2 first to get to the house to start CPR, start any medical, anything medical we can do for them. And then the ambulance follows behind, and they would transport them to the hospital. So we have a lot of medical bags. You obviously see a lot of fire gear, but this is where we have our turnout gear and our SCBA tanks that we wear. This allows us to breathe in fresh air in a fire, and that way we can stay in the fire longer and put the fire out under fire conditions. These are all gates. If we pull one of these, it charges a different hose link that's set up in the truck. So there's all kinds of different hoses we can fire off out of this truck right here. You take the hydrant goes in right in the side here, and it adds, once this 500 gallons of water is depleted, we use the hydrant to have more water go through the pump, add pressure, and put it into the hoses. So that's the way that works. Real quick, basically we have all kinds of different connections for nozzles and hoses. We have things called the high-rise pack, which we take into larger buildings where our hoses won't reach, and we can get down the hallway with that. More SCBAs in case we run out of air. We can go get a new bottle. Everybody knows the fire extinguisher, right? These are located usually in all the businesses in town, schools in town, but we take that in too for smaller fires. Back of the truck, this is where we keep a lot of the big hose already ready to go. And this is our hydrant hose called supply lines. You can get large volumes of water out of a hydrant and down to an engine. And these are also discharge gates right here. You can hook a hose right to this and start going. Tools, we carry a lot of tools, sledgehammers, axes, Halligans, bolt cutters. In case there's wires down somewhere that need to be moved. Speedy dry if you're in an accident. There's oil and different things leaking out of your car. We can put speedy dry down to clean it up. These are all our axes. We mount them here so they don't fall off and hit anybody, hurt anybody. They're also called forcible entry tools in case we need to smash open a door, which is pretty cool. Cribbing. This is used to stabilize a car if a car has been flipped over or it's on its side. We have water suits and different bags right here, so if somebody's going on a water emergency, they put the suit on. It makes us float in the water, spy pond, something like that. Door gates. This is all kind of the same thing. We have an extra spot, somebody needs to sit here. And then the officer sits up front. And he's in control. The driver is driving the vehicle, the officer is responsible for everybody on the apparatus, on all the calls. And this is the rescue. And pretty much what this is we have two guys on this truck, and they take people to the hospital if they need to go to the hospital from a 911 call. So those are our main two trucks at the Arlington Highland Station. This is where we have, everybody's an EMT, but this is where the EMTs take guys to the hospital. We have various different equipment in this truck. We can, splint a broken leg, or we can take your blood pressure, and do basic life support functions. We bring in bags of oxygen, airways for CPR. We also have this new machine right here. It's called a Lucas. And what this does, and this is also where science comes into play. I know you guys are interested in science. This is a big science thing. The Lucas is for compressions. When you do CPR, it used to be always airway, breathing, and then compressions on the chest, get your heart started again. So they figured out that if you use this machine and you stay on scene at the house for about 8 minutes and you give great CPR, which is this machine doing the compressions for you, which is like, the person saying here they're doing the compressions like this machine does it for you. It's a big plunger. If you do 8 solid minutes of that, it increases the person's chance of survivability at that point. So if you stay on scene, don't move them, start CPR, there's a good chance we can bring them back, a better chance we can bring them back than in the past. We've done a lot of studies, and they do a lot of science studies in this stuff, and that's the best way to do it. So that's why science really is a major part of the fire services at this point, because we're increasing people's chances of living. So it's another great thing that's happened from science. This is the back. People can ride right here. We set them up like this, and we take their blood pressures and their pulse rates, and we give them whatever we can to help them out. And we get them to the hospital as fast as we can. That's where the doctors and nurses can really take care of them. So that's the back of the rescue. So basically this gear keeps us safe in a fire to a certain extent. I mean, we can't be on the top of a fire for hours and it's not going to work, but this will keep us protected for a small amount of time in direct flames and heat. Puts on his pants. He wears this new thing, it's called a hood. Hoods have been around for a few years now. It protects us. Basically, all this gear, when we put it on, it protects all of our skin and all of our body in total. You're not going to see anything exposed when he's done putting this on. Everything's going to be protected by some form of gear. His jacket, same thing. Clips it on up. Velcros it all all up too, and then so now you can see he's covered from his toes all the way to his neck right now. The next thing we would put on would be his, if we're going into a fire, would be his face piece right here. He's gonna put his SCBA, stands for self-contained breathing apparatus, kind of like scuba minus the U, we're not underwater. But that gives us about 15 minutes, 20 minutes of fresh air in a fire condition. Has straps. It has, we're going to turn it on the bottle for him. Science is everywhere. You're going to see this thing's called SCBA. And what they figured out is that if you stop moving for about, I think it's 20 seconds, it goes into alarm, which can say a ceiling collapsed on top of him right now. If that SCBA is turned on, he's pinned in the ground and can't move. It starts going, don't move for 15 seconds, right there. It starts going into an alarm, and that way, firefighters outside the building, when we go in to rescue them, we can find them faster because we can hear this noise going off. So, in a second that's gonna start going off, you're gonna see him put on his face piece, which is gonna cover his face. And once we lock the regulator, which is connected to the SCBA, into that face piece, so this is his alarm that goes off after 15 seconds. That means stop moving if you can. He's not gonna move yet. After 30 seconds, it goes into full alarm, and that allows us to find Bert when he's down. Shut up now. That piercing noise in a house helps us find him faster. This is face piece he's gonna put on next. He tightens it to get a good seal so the air doesn't escape the mask. It's a good seal. Then he pulls on his hood, right? So at this point, right now, the only thing exposed is his hands, which we're gonna fix that problem in a second. His helmet goes on his head in case of a collapse of a ceiling, collapse of a wall, anything starts falling on a fire scene, bricks, windows get smashed on a fire scene with vending windows. Anything that falls down is gonna hit his helmet. It's not gonna hurt his head. Then he puts on his gloves. And if you look at Bert right now, he's got nothing exposed. He can go into a fire, unlike you, who was in a fire, you're gonna get burned. This will protect him for a lot of time in the fire. Once he goes on air, he snaps this in right here. You can go ahead, snap right on it. All right, Bert, can we hear you? What are you gonna say? Hey. It's a little muffled. That's why we always tell kids, you know, make sure if you see a firefighter coming through and you need help to make noise and talk to us, because sometimes they can't hear us that well. But that's what a full firefighter looks like right there. And then if you just give him one of these tools, he's got an axe, he's got a halligan, he's ready to go into a fire and smash out a window or whatever he needs to do. Break a door open to find, you know, people in need kind of thing. So that's Bert. He's our firefighter probation. Thanks a lot, Bert. Appreciate it. Next up, science-related topic. This is called a thermal imaging camera. New technology in the fire service. Somebody came up with this. It's a great idea. You can see me in there. What color am I, guys? White. So I'm white in this thing. If I'm looking at a firefighter or if I'm looking in a room and I'm trying to find somebody that's down, anything with heat is going to give off a white signature. Anything that's not hot, in the background you can see related to Bert and related to this fire engine. That black on that camera right there is actually outside, and it's cold outside. That's why it's dark color right now. So if we were to go into a house that was on fire, the fire and everything that was hot would be white, and then the person on the ground would actually be the opposite. They would be a dark black color because they are in contrast with the heat. So we can use this. Some of the newer models, you can see on the side, actually shows us a number, 300, 600, 900. That's how much temperature is in the room we're pointing at. On the side here, it gives us degrees in Fahrenheit. If something's really hot, it can get up to 1200 degrees on this camera and tells us how hot it is in the room. If it gets to a certain point, that's when we know we gotta get out of there too. So we're always paying attention to our thermal imaging cameras. So right now, Bert's about 100 pounds. 100. Here comes a call coming in. So we could be doing anything, and calls come in, we go out the door, and we respond. So Bert's gonna be taking off right now, but.
If you could describe your job in one word, what would it be?
My job in one word is it's always changing. Every day it's changing. So every day is new. There's always something new happening. You don't go on the same call ever. It's a different call every day, and it's always changing. And you never know what kind of fire scene or EMS scene you're gonna walk into at any day, and that's what makes it so interesting because it's always changing.